Welcome to The Explainer, where today we're opening up the playbook on strategic intelligence. We're going to show you how to look inside your competitors' heads, figure out their next move, and then turn all that knowledge into a seriously powerful advantage for your own business.
Let's just kick things off with a really crucial question. You know who your competitors are, right? Of course you do. But do you really know what they're planning for the next quarter or the quarter after that? Can you predict their next big move? Because let me tell you, that is a whole different ballgame.
Thanks to the internet and, well, the entire world being connected, the market isn't just a marketplace anymore. It's turned into this incredibly crowded battlefield. And just being customer-focused, that's the bare minimum now. To really survive and thrive, you need something more.
So here's what's on the docket today. First, we're going to survey this competitive battlefield. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of gathering your intelligence. After that, we'll open up the Strategist Toolkit to see how to make sense of it all. And finally, we'll talk about how to turn all that data into total market dominance.
Okay, let's dive right in. If you want to win in today's world, you absolutely have to understand the new rules of engagement. And that means you've got to look beyond your own company walls.
Think about it. Knowing your customer is just table stakes now. Every single one of your rivals is trying to do the exact same thing. The real game changer, your actual competitive edge, comes from knowing their strategies, their strengths, and, their weaknesses, just as well as you know your own.
So, if we're on a battlefield, how do you actually get intel? How do you get eyes on what everyone else is doing? Well, that brings us to our intelligence gathering mission. And let's be super clear here. This is not about some shady corporate espionage. It's about being really systematic and smart about how you learn what's going on around you.
So what is competitor analysis really? Well, at its core, it's your system for gathering information you can actually use. It's all about turning all that raw data about your rivals into insights that help you make better, smarter business decisions.
Oh, I love this quote. It just nails it. Because the goal here isn't just to make a big spreadsheet of your rivals' prices or features. The real goal is to understand their mindset so deeply that you can actually start to think like they do and predict what they're going to do next, maybe even before they do.
So, where do you even start? Well, it's actually way more straightforward than you might think. You start with the simple stuff. Keywords. See who's ranking for them on Google, check out who's talking about them on social media, and then, and this is a great tip, look at who your own audience is already following. It's a clear path that takes you right to your key rivals. Okay, so once you have your list of competitors, you basically become a digital detective. You're not just, counting their followers. You're looking for patterns. What are their best posts? What's their engagement like? What hashtags are they using? You're basically reverse engineering their entire social media strategy. But here's a super critical step, and one where a lot of people mess up. Don't just look at the obvious players. Remember Blockbuster? They saw Netflix as some small, indirect competitor, not a real threat. And, well, we all know how that story ended. Your biggest threat can pop up from your blind spots, so you have to keep a really wide field of vision.
All right, so you've done all the legwork. You've gathered this mountain of raw data. Now what? How do you find the important signals in all that noise? Well, for that, we need to open up the Strategist Toolkit.
First up is a classic, and it's a classic for a reason, the SWOT analysis. Think of it like the Swiss Army knife of strategy. It's this simple but incredibly powerful way to get a high-level snapshot of where you stand by looking at these 4 key areas.
Now, the real magic of SWOT, the part that makes it so brilliant, is how it forces you to draw this clear line between the internal stuff you can actually control, like your strengths and weaknesses, and the external stuff you can only react to, like opportunities and threats out in the market.
And when you lay it out in a simple grid like this, you can see why it's so powerful. It forces you to be brutally honest with yourself. By separating what's happening inside from what's happening outside, you get this complete, unbiased picture of the entire landscape, not just for your company, but for every single one of your competitors too.
Now, if you want to zoom out and get a much broader, industry-level view, we can grab another powerful tool, Porter's 5 Forces. This isn't just about your direct rivals anymore. This is about understanding the deep power structures that define your entire industry.
This framework basically helps you figure out the difficulty level of your industry. By looking at these 5 forces, you can see who really holds the power. Is it you, your suppliers, your customers, or your competitors? And once you know that, you can start looking for ways to shift that balance in your favor. So, you've gathered the intelligence, you've analyzed it with your toolkit. Now we get to the most important part. What do you do with it? How do you actually translate all these insights into a strategy that helps you win?
This is a perfect example from David Norcross. His agency, Lexicon, looked at a whole industry and realized that pretty much everyone was putting out the same, kind of boring content. They didn't see that as a template to copy. Nope, they saw it as a huge gap, a massive opportunity to stand out by doing something totally different. Now that's the power of this analysis.
And that right there is the real strategic payoff. It's about a fundamental shift from playing defense to playing offense. You stop just reacting to what everyone else is doing, and you start making proactive, data-driven decisions that let you avoid their mistakes and claim those untapped market opportunities for yourself.
But, and this is a big but, I have to give you a word of caution. There are traps, and the biggest one by far, becoming so obsessed with what your rivals are doing that you just become a copycat. That kind of fixation can make you blind to new opportunities and stop you from carving out your own unique path to success.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most crucial point. It is so important to remember that this is not a one-and-done project. The battlefield is always changing, which means your intelligence operation has to be continuous.
Your analysis has to be a living, breathing document. Think of it less like a photograph you take once and more like a live video feed. The market, the tech, your competitors, they're all constantly evolving. The only way to stay agile and ahead of the curve is to make this a regular, ongoing part of how you think about strategy.
So, at the end of the day, here's the biggest takeaway. Competitor analysis gives you the intelligence to see the entire field of play. It allows you to stop just reacting to your competitors' moves and start making your own moves, forcing them to react to you.